This week's Blender challenge is to create an item on a table. So we're going to have to try and render a wooden table and create any object on it that you like. You can have some 3D text. I've got a little metronome, but you can make whatever you like. And we're going to try and animate it so that something moves or the camera moves. That's where we're aiming for at the end of today. So we'll start from a blank Blender scene. I'm going to turn this cube into a table. So we'll squish it down, S and X, and move the mouse in to squish it. Maybe S and Y. Did I say S and X? I meant S and Z to squish it down, and then S and Y or S and X to stretch it outwards. We'll go into edit mode by pressing Tab, and I want to pull down some legs to this table. So first of all, I need to put in some extra geometry, some extra vertices. I'll do that with Control and R for a loop cut. So I'll hover my mouse over and click on this edge, and then click again over here. Control and R for a loop cut. There we go. Control R again for another loop cut, and then one more should do it. So we've got enough vertices now to be able to pull down all of the table legs. That means we need to be in face mode or pressing 3 on the keyboard so that we can, oh sorry, I pressed 2. There we go. Press 3, shift and click to get all of these, and we can extrude. Extrude is E on the keyboard. There we go, we've got a table. I hope everyone will manage to do that. Back into object mode, let's make the table look pretty. So if we go into rendered view, I want a wooden texture. In order to do that, let's download a picture. So I've just searched for tileable wood texture. Any of these will be fine. The tileable means that you can have it repeated and it kind of tessellates. So if we save this image into a Blender folder, let's call it tileable wood. Hopefully in Blender, we can make a material. Instead of changing the color for all of the vertices, we can click the little blob and add a picture. So let's put an image texture, find which image. So open that image, go to a Blender folder. What did I call it? Tileable wood. There we go. So it looks pretty terrible at the moment because it's too big. If you remember the last Blender challenge, we did some UV editing. I've got to switch it back to the rendered mode over here. If we select all of the faces and all of the vertices, that's by pressing A, move the mouse over here and press A again to select them all. When we scale it now, it changes the mapping on here. So let's zoom in. Let's make it smaller or bigger. If I make it big enough, then the table looks reasonable-ish. There we go, we've got a table. Next, you have a choice of what you put on your table. I'm going to put a light shining on the table, so Shift A to add a light, a spotlight, GZ to move it up. You can't really see the spotlight at the moment, it's not powerful enough, it's only a 10-watt bulb. I'll go for a kilowatt bulb, that's 1000 watts, and I like it a little bit softer. And then R to rotate, a bit of a jaunty angle. There we go. I'm going to put some text on. Shift A, add text, GZ, and I'll just press Tab to go into edit mode, and I'll put Game Dev Club. Game Dev Club. Press Tab again to go into object mode, S again to scale it down. It doesn't look very 3D at the moment until we go into the text properties, the geometry, the shape of it, and extrude it ever so slightly. And you can add a material if you really want. I'm just going to change the color to red, rotate it around the x-axis, something like that. So I've got something on a table now. It's enough to be able to animate. So how do we animate? Well, I'm going to press 0 on the numpad to look through the camera. Click on the outside of the camera and we're going to go into fly mode. That is Shift and I think it's called, well, it's the little dash that's to the left of 1 on your keyboard. That means you can go into Minecraft mode where you move the camera with your mouse and W, A, S and D and F to be able to move the camera. So that was Shift and the little dash to the left of 1. Then I'm going to animate it. Press I to insert. I'm going to remember the location and the rotation with a little keyframe. Move along the timeline, Shift and that little dash, W, A, S and D, and move the mouse to move the camera. I to remember the location and rotation. And that's it. We've now got an animated scene. Doesn't look that great between these two, so shift and little dash thing. I should find out what that's called, really, shouldn't I? I to remember the location and rotation. And we've got the animation. I want my animation to stop when I get to frame whatever this is. Is that 92? So the end frame I'm going to set to 92, and that's it. You can do whatever you like. I've got to 5 minutes, so I'd better stop. If you want, you can animate the color of the light. So I'll show you how to do that. Let's put a keyframe in. Hover your mouse over here and press I. Go along the timeline. Change it to a different color. Hover your mouse over it, press I to insert. Go along the timeline, change to a different color. Basically, anything is this a word? Animatable in Blender. You just got to put the keyframes in. So that is it. See what you can create. I hope everyone can make a table. I'm hoping some of you can put something on the table, and some of you will be able to animate your table scene by the end of today's session. Let's go. Show me what you create.